Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're to present you our MLB On Deck segment for Wednesday, June 12th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of my MLB, NBA, and NFL videos. And if you haven't come and checked out my website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure you come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, what up, Jeremy? How you doing out there, bro?
Yo, what's up, man?
Hey, I just want to start off the video by saying, screw you, James Paxton. The dude got absolutely tortured yesterday, killed a lot of my lineups. I didn't expect that from him, and it really bit me in the butt. So didn't have a very good night last night. Ready to kind of bounce back tonight and have a much better one.
The crazy thing about it is that I've been, if you listen to my deep dive, I've been on the Mets against left-handed pitching since they faced Clayton Kershaw on Memorial Day. Like, I've been on the Mets. I've been on their lefties: Hechavarria, Pete Alonso, J.D. Davis, Ahmed Rosario. I've been on all these dudes because their ISOs are enormous against left-handed pitching. And I completely just ignored it. Kind of irritated me, but I completely just ignored it. And yes, screw you, James Paxton.
That was my number one question. Remember, I called you about 15 minutes before lock, and I was like, "Damn, bro, I got a lot of James Paxton. How much you got?" I was trying to see if we were kind of on the same page, and we were. And hey, man, it just didn't work out. He had a bad day.
We somewhat were. When I told you, David, when I told you John Means, you're like, "What? Why you want John Means so much?"
Right.
I think Means ended up being the best pitcher, did he not? 39 fantasy points?
Yeah, he was pretty good for sure. That was a pretty good call. I had a little bit of exposure when you told me that I got some. So let me sneak a little bit in there real quick. But yeah, so hey, man, I'm ready to jump in this slate, just talk some baseball real quick. As always, this video is a little bit more overview, getting you a general idea of what we're looking at early in the day. If you want a more in-depth analysis on today's slate, make sure to check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. Get yourself your free 2-week trial and make sure that our tools are right for you. So I'm ready to jump in and talk some baseball. You ready to go, bro?
Yeah, for sure. Let's go.
Real quick before we do, if you guys don't mind, please take that quick second, click the like button down below. Helps me out. Really appreciate that from you guys. And yeah, let's go. So I'll jump into the bat first, and you could kind of, if I'm missing any teams, you could jump in and let me know after, and then we could kind of get into some pitching. So first, I'm going to start with Minnesota. We've been talking about Minnesota. That they have the highest team ISO, basically in the MLB. They absolutely crush the ball. They get a matchup today against Tommy Malone. He has a 44% hard contact rate, 235 ISO to lefties, 238 ISO to righties. I just feel like this is a spot, man. I mean, look how high Tommy Malone's ISOs are. Look how high the batters on the Minnesota side of things are. I think they're going to put up a bunch of runs, man. I honestly think you can basically consider almost every single person in this lineup. Not trying to take the easy way out, but I mean, when 8 of the 9 people that are going to be in the lineup have an ISO over 200, and the pitcher gives up an ISO over 230 to both sides of the plate, man, I think it's a spot. They're going to be a lot of runs. So I really like Minnesota. I think, like I said, you got to kind of see how the lineup shakes out, but a bunch of these guys are definitely going to be in play. I think that's kind of an easy call on the slate today. Moving on, I'm going to go – I like both sides of this game. I like Toronto and I like Baltimore. Both, have, pretty not very good pitchers going on both sides of things. Baltimore is also a stadium that we've been liking to target this season, giving up a bunch of runs. We have the wind projected to be blowing out to center at 11 miles an hour. So, yeah, man, I like it. I'll start with Baltimore first. I mean, they get a matchup of probably one of the worst gas cans in the MLB. Edwin Jackson gives up a 46% hard contact rate, 413 ISO to lefties, 602 ISO to righties. Man, this is a really, really good spot for Baltimore to put up a bunch of runs. I'm looking at the main guys. You're looking at Jonathan Millar, Mancini, Wilkerson has some pop. And then you can look at these guys that have been in the lineup that have been swinging decent bats. Santander, I think that's how you say it. The guys come up and he's swinging a decent bat. I think he's in play as well. We got to see kind of, what the line, how it comes out, because there's a couple guys we don't have projected that I actually like in there. But I think Baltimore is a really good spot going against Edmund Jackson. I really don't care what team it is. All these teams are still MLB teams, and when they're going against Edwin Jackson, I'm definitely going to want some interest in them. So Baltimore in a great spot. On the flip side of things, you get Toronto. They get a matchup against David Hess, who gives up a 47% hard contact rate, 152 ISO to lefties, 415 ISO to righties. So you want to target him with the righties. I mean, guys that stand out to me, Vladimir Guerrero. You can look at Justice Smoke. Tellez is a guy that has been, swinging a crazy good bat on the season. Grichuk is in play. Gurriel is in play. Definitely think that you can look at some of these Blue Jays as well. Like I said, both sides of this game look really, really nice. Next team I'm going to go with, this is my third straight day targeting them, and they haven't let me down the past 2 days. I'm going to go right back to the well. You get Atlanta, very good hitters park. We, call it the Coors Field of the East. They get a matchup against Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller gives up a 33% hard contact rate. In a small sample size, he's decent against lefties, but he gets hit hard against righties. 286 ISO versus righties. I'm still going to be playing the lefties, in this Brave lineup. They have some really, really good lefties. Acuna's in play. Swanson, Freeman, Markakis, Austin Riley. I told you guys Albies yesterday. I said just because he's in the bottom of the lineup, nobody's playing him. He hit a monster jack. He's definitely in play. And then
bro. He was coming off a double dong game the day before.
Right, but usually, you always tell me this too. Usually, when somebody hits a home run the day before or a double dong, is a perfect example. Then they're not going to hit a home run the next day. But he still came out. He's getting hot, is what it's coming down to more than anything. And the last guy I like too. We like righties, obviously. I just mentioned we got to see what's going on with Josh Donaldson. He's appealing a 1-game suspension. So if he's in that lineup still, I definitely think he is in play. I like Atlanta on today's slate. There's some really good, hit spots to target for bats, and we still got a couple more teams to look at. Next, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. This is the team me and you quickly mentioned before we got on the video. They get a matchup against Jordan Yamamola. Is that how you say it?
Yamamoto.
Okay, they get a matchup against Jordan Yamamoto. He's making his debut today on the season. I like the Cardinals. You know anything about this guy, Yamamoto?
Yeah, I'll get to him in a minute.
Okay, for sure. So I think that the Cardinals definitely are in play going against a young dude. And then lastly, I'll quickly mention I like the Philadelphia Phillies as well going against Merrill Kelly. 40% hard contact rate, 135 ISO against lefties, 211 ISO against righties. Philadelphia, man, they're a team with such a stacked lineup. It's frustrating. I just feel like they can't put all the pieces together at the same time is what's really going on. But they got hitters. Cesar Hernandez at the top of the lineup, very good price. He's a switch hitter. Bryce Harper, Segura, Hoskins. JT Realmuto. These guys have bats. Franco batting in the A spot. Definitely think that the Phillies are in play. So just quickly sum up the bats that are kind of standing out for me. I like Minnesota a lot. Baltimore and Toronto, both sides of that game. Atlanta at home. Like the Cardinals going against Yamamoto, making his debut this season. And then the Phillies against Merrill Kelly. So what teams did I miss, and kind of where you at pitching-wise?
Yeah, I don't think you really missed anybody, to be honest with you. I think it's an 8-game slate. There's 16 teams. I think there's 4 really good pitching spots, and I think there's 4 or 5 really good hitting spots. The rest of it is kind of tournament exposure. So, I think you pretty much hit the right spots.
Perfect. So pitching wise, and where you at?
So let's just start off really quick with Jordan Yamamoto. Yamamoto hasn't even been to AAA yet. Yamamoto has pitched in their high A, extended A, and double A, and the guy carries about a 5 FIP. So FIP and ERA, a lot of people look at Sierra and they'll compare Sierra to ERA, and if a guy has a really low ERA and a really high Sierra, they're like, oh, he's due for regression. my opinion, the more accurate statistic to figure out if a guy's lucky or unlucky is FIP and XFIP, which takes away basically it's the ERA with no defensive player on the field. So for us with fantasy sports, looking at extra base hits, home runs, doubles, triples, you're looking at it's a more accurate, it's like ISO, it's a more accurate depiction of stats we need. Balls that would be hit in spots that even if there was a fielder there, nobody would get to them. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. I get you.
So, you take those factors into consideration. This is his very first start in the majors. He hasn't even pitched in AAA yet. He's skipping AAA, going straight to AA. He's ranked as the 14th best arm in their organization and their 24th best prospect. The scouting report on him says that he could end up being an end of a rotation starter, or if he can't handle more than one time through the lineup, he could see multiple innings as a middle to long reliever. So this is not a guy that you want to load up today. The flip side of the coin here is that the St. Louis Cardinals, you've expressed some frustration with the Phillies. The St. Louis Cardinals have not dominated right-handed pitching this year. They just haven't. I mean, you take a look at them, they have a 22.5 K percent and only a 157 ISO. But they grade out because of Jordan Yamamoto as one of the top stacks on the day in my model. So don't load him up.
You mentioned it. I mean, Cardinals, just like the Phillies, they got hitters. They added Goldsmith. They have a good lineup.
They've got a good lineup. Matt Carpenter at the top of that lineup is not very good. He's hitting about 210, I think, this year against right-handed pitching. Just not having a very solid season yet.
He's one of those guys, though. Is it me, or every year is it? He kind of starts out slow and he'll get going like towards the middle of the season. I mean, last year I remember
I think Matt Carpenter is definitely a second half player.
Yeah, he went on a run of like homer, like 13 straight games or something last year, didn't he?
No, the Major League Baseball record is 8. Griffey.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I know it was a bunch. It may have been extra base hits or something that I'm thinking about.
Nonetheless, the guy is probably he's a better second half player than he is a first half player. At least that's what it's been.
Right.
Yeah. So look, there's some really good pitchers on this slate, and there's a couple of really good pitchers or pitchers that have been really good this year that I don't want any part of today, and that would be Brandon Woodruff. Brandon Woodruff's been really, really, really good this year. He's been really good this year. The problem is the Astros, they haven't cared who they're facing. They've put up runs. Fred, you look at Peralta yesterday, had a very high K percentage against left-handed bats, but not against right-handed bats. And this is a predominant right-handed lineup, and they ate him up. So I like Woodruff on a lot of slates. I don't like Woodruff today. I think the Diamondbacks are definitely in play again. When you take a look at, here's another Philadelphia starter with a huge ISO against left-handed bats, only an 18.5 K percentage and a 242 ISO to left-handed bats. You've got Escobar, Peralta, Ketel Marte, Alex Avila. There's some left-handed bats and some thump in that Diamondbacks lineup. We've seen it in this series already. I wouldn't. Zach Eflin's not a guy that I really want anything to do with. I'm mainly going to focus today my ownership around Joey Lucchesi. I think this is a really good spot. The Giants grade out as the worst overall stack on the day, and I think Joey Lucchesi gets a bump for the ballpark he's pitching in. And the Giants have a lot of left-handed bats in their lineup, and they've only got a 112 ISO this year against left-handed pitching and a 23.7 K percent. Anytime you talk about the Giants and K percentage, you have to take into consideration Joe Panic. The guy never strikes out. He struck out, I believe, once last night, and it was like, holy cow, Joe Panic just struck out. So that K percentage for the Giants is always a little bit lower for the simple fact that Joe Panic's not a guy that really ever strikes out. His K percentage is so much lower than the rest of the team. So I really like Lucchesi in this spot. I think Danny Duffy deserves consideration. Soroka is a guy that will get a ton of ownership, but I'll caution this: his K percentages are not real high. They're not 25% plus. They're in the low 20s. He just doesn't allow very many hits against him. I mean, he's got really good stuff, an 083 ISO against lefties, an 027 ISO against righties. Soroka, probably the safest play, in my opinion, on the slate. right behind Justin Verlander, who will be the chalky chalk cash game option on this short slate. But you look at Verlander, 198 ISO against right-handed bats. He's significantly decreased the ISO against left-handed bats, down below 200. A couple of starts ago, he was over 200 ISO against both sides of the plate, significantly decreased that. Verlander in a good spot, but it's a lot of left-handed bats for him to navigate through, and there's always the potential for him to go out there and strike out 10 guys over 6 innings and give up 3 runs. So, Verlander, I think, will garner the majority of the ownership, but I definitely think Soroka, Lucchesi, Duffy, and Miles Mikolas are all in play as well. And then I'll just say,
yeah, for sure.
I'll just say one other quick thing here to kind of promote something else. This is, if you're not aware and you're just in the boondocks and don't realize that this is the U.S. Open week, tonight I will put up a special deep dive on our site for the U.S. Open. This is in my backyard. I actually worked as a club pro for the Pebble Beach Company for 2 years back in the early 2000s. I actually worked for them when Tiger Woods won there at Pebble Beach in 2000. I've played that golf course a lot and know it very, very, very well. And I'm going to do a deep dive to break that course down, the players I like, who I think have the game to win the U.S. Open. So there'll be a special deep dive. It'll be tonight. Probably look for that like around 7 or 8 o'clock p.m.
Hey, my boy stepping his game up, bro. But yeah, hey, that's what's up. Make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. Like Jeremy said, we got PGA, when it's available. We got MMA. We got NASCAR on the weekends, NHL daily, MLB daily. We got a ton of stuff. So make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And outside that, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, and peace out.